Hello, everyone, and welcome back. My name is Tara, and this is Catherine, and we're here from Lumara to once again share with you some book reviews of some really great books that we think are very helpful for working with young people who are experiencing grief and loss.
I'll say just a brief few words about Lumara. We have more detailed description on the Lumara website, and our early versions of the book reviews have more detail. Lumara is all about supporting individuals and in particular families who are dealing with many kinds of loss, and we are have a broad range of services available. Grief in the Classroom is part of the work that we do. We have camps, etc., lots of different things that might be ways that your family can be supported. So we encourage you to take a look at the website. And we want to acknowledge that we work from coast to coast. And as part of that, we feel it's really important for us to acknowledge the unceded Indigenous lands from coast to coast to coast on which we live, work, play, and create and support families. This project, as you see there outlined, really has three main components to it: that we know grief is present in the classrooms. Grief is absolutely a healthy response to loss. Absolutely, things can get stuck and challenge that process, and that's why we're here. And we also know how important teachers and classrooms are in the lives of our children, and so we really want to be able to support you. We know that classrooms are busy places, and so we've tried to give you as much support with ideas and identifying books so that we can support your work, but not with undue burden of more things to be involved with.
Right. And so my name is Tara Such. I'm a clinical counselor. I'll just do a brief bio because you might have heard a longer bio in our first video. I work with Lumara. I also work for Hospice Society. Been working with grief and loss for a long time, and really specializing in working with children and youth and young people.
Thanks, Tara. And I'm Catherine Heinel. I too do some work with Lumara, as you see here, and I do, just in a broad sense, I'm deeply rooted in grief and trauma education, working with many different communities to support their grieving process and to work with service providers in order to support them in their work with their clients. So, shall we jump into our first book for today? I'm going to acknowledge that it's a grief-informed book. As you see there, we have two kinds of books that we deal with. This video is going to be a grief-informed book, and so it touches on this idea of loss and emotions and endings without necessarily speaking specifically to a death or some kind of trauma. It's more about sort of the emotional intelligence side of things.
Right.
Trudy Healing Stone. Yeah, go for it. Tell us about this one, Tara.
Great. So this is Trudy's Healing Stone. And this is a really fantastic book. It is very much about how, or it offers a suggestion around how we can support processing our emotions. So essentially this book features Trudy and her grandmother, and there's a suggestion and offering for Trudy to go out into nature to find a stone. And with the stone, she is invited to tell the stone her sadness and her worries and carry the stone with her and speak to it often and sort of speak and speak and speak until her heart feels lighter. And then go back to nature and return the stone from where she found it. And this version, the Trudy's Healing Stone, is actually adapted from the Trudy's Rock Story, which is a little bit more of a longer story. This is kind of a shorter version for ages 4 to 6. So there's two versions of this book available. Both are fantastic.
Okay, and I'm just going to acknowledge I'm reaching over and acknowledging that I have a stone that's sort of in the shape of a heart, a little bit, that I hold on to, and yet at the same time, I appreciate that, connection that it comes from nature and the earth, and that's very grounding for me. So I'm imagining it could be that for the children too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I appreciate often when I talk to young people, we talk about who are the people in our lives who support us. And that is obviously so important. We know that community and connection is really valuable. And then there's also this important conversation around what our internal resources are, because we know sometimes that our loved ones, if they're going through their thing, they might not be available for us in that moment. So how do we find those internal resources to lean into and to support us, which is also relevant to what we're connected to that's bigger than ourselves. And so nature, spirituality, culture, our belief systems, those kinds of things are bigger than we are. And I think it's important for young people, for adults, for everyone to be introduced to how to access those. So in those times when someone might not be available for us, what else is available? What other resources do we have available?
Yeah, and that
Which is what I really like about this book and how it highlights that.
And I'm hearing that part of it is, in the broad sense, again, nature is always there for us to tap into. Thinking about our backgrounds, that we have the importance of nature, and we can always speak to it. We can be in connection with it, and when we share our hurts or our joys, nature listens. Yeah, nature listens and doesn't judge us.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So that nature and earth connection is part of what you like about this book, and that it helps us find ways that we can connect to something else to support us in that way. Anything else that you particularly like about this book?
Well, I mean, I love that this is a book that is sharing indigenous wisdom and knowledge around how to be in the world, how to be in harmony with nature, um, representing a voice and having a voice shared with us. It's very important for us to hear that, given the history of everything that has happened, that has a voice that has been silenced. And so there's, really, really good wisdom and medicine coming through in this book and teaching.
Wonderful. And then in terms of who is best served by this book, you'd mentioned 4 to 6 as the suggested age range. In terms of the characters, anything around gender, culture?
Yeah, so the cultural representation of Indigenous families, elders, and young people, the connection between elders and young people. And it mostly is, the book mostly features Trudy. There's sort of an opening phrase where you can see the elder grandmas kind of speaking to a group of children. So yeah, and it mostly features her as a primary character though. Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm hearing with beginning with the group and having the elder there, that it probably, one of the things we've talked about previously is that the child sees themselves in the book.
Exactly.
And I'm sensing that's possible for a broad range of children in this one too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in terms, as always, some ideas for how a teacher might use this. What options do you have for us here?
Yeah, and actually kind of related to sort of the teaching. I don't know if you can see this page here, but it's there you go. There's also a highlighting of learning Indigenous words in the back as well too, and their meaning. So that's an important teaching. We can learn grandmother, passing on stories from generation, the name for soap berries and things. So I'll just add that in here too. There's some extra learning content in here. So for the activities, so the one is of course inspired by the story itself, which is to go and find a stone, and then tell the stone your feelings, speak to it often, carry it with you. So we can see Trudy has a stone out in nature. We can see then she later brings it into her bedroom. She's sitting on her bed talking to the stone. And then when you feel that your heart is lighter, you go into nature and you return the stone to the land. And so, highlighting that importance of living in harmony and in relationship with nature. So that's one obvious one that basically the book is centered on. So of course we can bring that activity into working with the young people. And then the other one, and this one I do very frequently. I also have a background as an outdoor educator, so I've done this in the field guiding young people often, is you can either invite the young people to find a stone, or sometimes I've come into the classroom or into a session and brought stones or gems sometimes with me, and invite the young person to choose one of the stones or gems. And then you can invite them to share a story of how the rock or stone represents anything from their grief, the strengths they see in themselves, their family, themselves. And it's a unique window into inviting story, because it's really neat sometimes the things that the young people will come up with. So say they have a stone that maybe has a crack down the middle, or one stone is lighter on one side and darker on other sides. They're all of a sudden you're hearing these young people speak these insightful and aware and poetic statements about themselves. I see myself in this stone because sometimes I'm this way and happy and light, and then these other times I feel dark, and or my family feels this way and we're separated, and but then when I'm in the water I'm shiny and bright, or like there's just so many surprising places that they go with talking about the stone as a symbol of what they see in the stone, and how it's representational to themselves. So that's an activity that works really well in groups. So you can go around in a circle and everybody can have a chance to share if they would like. And it's a unique and contained opportunity to share a kind of vulnerability that just offers a different way in.
Yeah, I'm just imagining those the young people and what the stone inspires from within them to what they connect with, the shape, the color, as you mentioned, where they found it, all of it. Yeah, and you have
Yes, a
lovely
lot about where they found it. That's it. That comes up a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first one is it could be you actually do an outdoor activity where you go out and find a stone, and I suppose you could have those conversations out in nature if you wanted to begin the conversation. And then two, well, I suppose you could make that an outdoor activity too if you wanted, but the idea is that sometimes the students bring their own stones, or you bring the stones as the instructor. And sometimes getting out into nature isn't always possible in the context of the day. Okay. And then inviting to take that conversation in all the different directions, lots of different possibilities for where it could go. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And as always, we will have a handout on the book outlining some of these key features, and these ideas will be represented there. And we hope that you find this another helpful resource for grief and loss in your classroom. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Thank you.